Բարև Մարտ, Մարտ անգլերեն հասկանում է, ով անգլերեն չի հասկանում, ձերքերը վեր, Yasmin, կներեք. Okay, we'll switch to English. For me, it's simpler. So, who am I? My name is Patrick Elliott. My full name is Patrick Armen Elliott. So I'm not lying, yes, հայ եմ, ես Իռլանդացի, բայց կանադայից եմ, այստեղ եմ ապրում հիմա. And I am one of the members of Work from Armenia, which is an initiative that we started after the war. And the mission is to essentially turn Armenia into a place for not just investments, but to bring Armenians from the diaspora back to work here, to bring foreigners to Armenia to work here, to live here, and to ultimately change and improve the culture. Now, you're probably wondering, why is the title of my discussion today, why selfishness is good for Armenia, especially considering all the amazing work that the people before me have been doing, which all is seemingly altruistic, and that's not to denigrate any of their work at all. In fact, it's to reinforce it. See, I don't need to remind anybody of the horror that befell our nation less than a year ago. And I think that the worst part, for me anyway, was that feeling of helplessness. It's knowing that even till this day, young men, younger than me, are living in what is essentially the North Korea of the Caucasus, living in a prison, wondering what the hell is going on and when they'll be able to come home. And I think that every single one of us need to the most important way to get there ultimately is to change our culture. Because a lot of what we have been doing up until this point has not worked. It does not work, and it's not going to work moving forward. We have failed at every level. Our church leaders have failed. Our diasporan organizations have failed. Our government has failed. Our businessmen have failed. And on an individual level, which is the important part, we've all failed, starting with myself. But that's a good thing. I'm not here to blame anybody. This is a good thing. Because it means that if we are responsible for our failures, that means we are also responsible for our successes. It means that since our thinking has gotten us to this point, then a new way of thinking is going to get us out of there. But we will be the vehicle to get us there. So I don't care what your political leanings are. I don't care if you want Armenia to become some beautiful, liberal, American-style paradise, or you want some super strong military that's going to protect Sunik, whatever you want. The answer is still the same. The way to get there is a stronger economy. I think we can all agree on that. And the way to build a strong economy, especially in a small country like ours, is to take individual responsibility. In other words, to use the tools that God has given us, our minds. And Armenians are very, very, very good at that. For example, a small statistic. In Tsarist times in Russia, at the time of industrialization, out of 300 manufacturing plants, 266 were owned and operated by Armenians, despite being 1% of the population. I'm sure all of you know Pascal and Diodato, who were responsible for importing coffee to Europe and creating the coffee culture we all know and love and associate with Vienna and Paris and so on. I think it's about time we stop donating our best and our brightest to foreign countries. And I think it's time to bring that home. Now, the way to do that is to change the way that we've marketed Armenia, especially for me growing up as a diasporan. I grew up with a victim mentality. This exists in our culture. Մենք եղերնի որբերի թորնիկ ենք. Սել չէ որ բիչը հարքենք. My grandfather was a genocide survivor. But the past should never come at the expense of the future. And this is something that we haven't learned. Armenians, especially in the diaspora, again, it's not to say that there's not been amazing work done, but generally speaking, the idea is on April 24th, I'm Armenian, and on April 25th, I'm Canadian or French or American or Russian or whatever else. So we've all been made aware that the little sliver of land that we have left to call home is in a very precarious position, and that requires a new way of thinking. Again, this is a good thing. I see a lot of people on social media worrying, saying, Armenians, we need to be united. There's so much chaos. We can't disagree with each other. I disagree with that. I think this is great. Because don't forget, the phoenix rises from the ashes after the fire has already been lit. Armenia has been on fire for the last few months. That's a good thing. Now is the time to think outside the box. Disagreement breeds innovation. This is the theme of today's conference, is collaboration. How do we collaborate as individuals? How do we collaborate as self-interested individuals? So I propose we change Armenia's brand. This is what we're trying to do here. Armenia is not a place you have to love because you're Armenian. Armenia is not a place you have a duty to because your parents happen to have Yan at the end of their name. Hasn't worked. We've tried it. Doesn't work. How many diasporans have come here and settled forever in the last 30 years? There have been some numbers, a lot of Beirutis recently, a lot of Syria has, but in the massive numbers we really need, no. You can carry the flag, you can get a Zina Nishan tattoo, but at the end of the day, you're still in Glendale. So we need people here. And the way to do that is to turn Armenia into a place of prosperity. Because what we all want is to live well. We want to be happy. We want to be healthy. We want to be serene. So this is my challenge to most Armenians. This is why I'm saying we need to get selfish. Because I believe that the best way to get Armenia on her feet is to turn Armenia into a place where you can come with nothing, whether it's after an explosion in Beirut, whether it's after a civil war in Syria, whether it's after the government squandered your retirement in Argentina, or like me, just think France is a terrible country. Why would anyone want to stay there? But to come here to Armenia, no matter the circumstances, and create something freely, that no one is going to bother you, no one is going to get in your way, and you can go from nothing to everything if you work hard. And more so, you'll be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. I think that it's better for Armenia if you come here, you set up your business, you take advantage of the tax schemes that you have here, you take advantage of the amazing talent that there is in Armenia who speak multiple languages, who are fit. My entire team, by the way, are absolutely phenomenal. Big shout out to you guys. For my own private company, my branding agency, all of our staff are Armenians. They're phenomenal. Come here, eat our food, drink some of our extraordinary wine. I mean, in the years that I've been here, I've never once missed French wine. I don't need Spanish wine. There's so many amazing Armenian wines. Why would I need to look elsewhere? But doing this is more beneficial by just straight up saying, I want to live cheap. I want to live comfortable. I want to live in luxury. I want to keep more of what I earn. You're doing more for Armenia than your social media posts back elsewhere. Or if you're here and you're unhappy and you think that you're going to find a better life somewhere else in Europe. The idea is to rebrand Armenia in a place where the individual can come and make something of himself. They did a study in the UK and they found that it takes 5% of a population to create a revolution that's going to overthrow an authoritarian regime. Now, not quite the same thing here, but I believe in the same thing. It takes 5% of people to be crazy enough to say, you know, I'm going to live successfully, selfishly, be the best I possibly can be. I'm going to create a stunning, successful business, and I'm going to live the way I really want based on my values, not based on what my mom told me I should think or how I should believe, not what my church told me, not what anyone else told me, but to come to Armenia and to be innovative, because this is the place to be innovative. This is the place to create. This is the place to be who you want to be. Whether you're Armenian from Argentina or from Russia or from Bangladesh, there are some, don't laugh. It doesn't matter. We're all different, which is what's so beautiful. This is an amazing place because look, at the end of the day, guys, for me, cooperation is the voluntary exchange of value between rational individuals, between people who decided I'm going to live here willingly, not because it's my duty or because I'm Armenian, because this is a great place. Because I want to build something with the people here. I want to create something with people here. Ultimately, this is my challenge. Nobody's coming. We've been waiting for 30 years. Nobody's coming. Right. We were singing Kars, Kars, Kars 100 years ago. Now we're singing Shushi, Shushi, Shushi. How many more cities do we need to sing about? No one's coming. So our only solution is to get rich. It's to be selfish, to build our lives the way that we want, to represent excellence so that other people in the world care about us, not because we're the first Christian country, but because we're center of business. We're a center of innovation. We're a center of excellence. As the saying in Israel goes, you want to get rid of Israel? Fine. But no more life-saving cancer medication for you. What's our excuse? So my challenge to all Armenians, it's okay to be selfish. Live large, be successful. You're the sum total of 5 people you spend the most time with. So elevate the people around you. Make the name Armenian synonymous with excellence, with success, with happiness. Because this goes back to my earlier point. How do we win? We all befell a horrible, horrible, horrible a trauma, really. So how do we win? We win by being everything our enemies hate. Because they succeeded at expanding their open-air prison. But at the end of the day, we are still a free people. So we win by being what they hate. We win by being so successful, so wealthy, so rich, so happy, so friendly, so calm, so healthy, so well-rounded, that instead of dropping bombs on us, they're going to wish they lived over here. That's how we win. And we do that here, now, with every single person here. Questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation, and this really resonates with me, a big deal. And I'm wondering how come your Armenian have completely obliterated your English, Irish half, and whether this model and France country, and whether this model can work for foreigners coming for Armenia. This is somewhat silly question. The real question is this: what should happen now in Armenia to start attracting people from abroad, which will come here not as a sacrifice, but as willingly, right? What should happen? How do you see this functional, real model that, again, relies not on sacrifice, but on actual, willing, kind of lucrative move, if you will, right? So I want to see your world, your vision on what's going to happen, because that really resonates with people living in diaspora. We all want to come back. We all have our reasons, but on a big scale, how do you see it happening?
Yeah, that's a very good question. To answer your first question, it hasn't. I'm still very much Irish and Armenian. Look, I want to make this clear. I'm not here preaching from a pulpit. I didn't come here pulled by some nationalistic vision. Literally, my wife and I, the lovely blonde woman over there, we were living in Poland. Poland was no longer fitting our needs. We looked at Armenia. We said, this is looking great. It's a great place to have kids. We can live very cheap. It's safe. I want my kid to speak Armenian, and I don't think he would be doing that if he was in Poland. I came here for selfish reasons. That's okay. I'm not a fidain. I didn't carry a rifle to go and fight. I'm not going to pretend that I am. And this is the point. I would rather come this way rather than with rose-colored glasses. I'm in my Heidenik and all of a sudden, no, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. I know so many of my friends who are out in Toronto or in Montreal, and they're like, oh, I did birthright 8 years ago. I built houses in Vanadzor. Like, this doesn't work. So if it's a duty, you can discharge it. I did my duty. It's done. I did it 8 years ago in Vanadzor. It's true. I was in Vanadzor. But the point that I'm making, to answer your second question, it's 2 halves. First of all, it's already there. So to give you an example, from our wedding, which was 2 months ago, some of Julia's friends are already in contact with some of the people here to set up businesses here. They loved it and they want to do business here, which is excellent. My business partner and his girlfriend simply did not board their flight back to Russia. They were like, this is much better. My partner even texted me saying it's the first time in 3 years where I walk in front of police officers and I'm not afraid to be arrested, right? So the main thing they kept saying, we hear Georgia, Georgia, Georgia. Why is no one promoting Armenia? So that's the main thing. The first half is the infrastructure is already there. We already have some huge advantages, okay? Now, that doesn't mean we should be lazy, okay? We're already working to solve that problem with our amazing work from Armenia team. We are doing the branding and the promo for Armenia. That's the goal, to attract already existing people who are looking. Like Belarus is a prime topic right now, right? They invested heavily in their IT sector. A bunch of them should come here. It's a great place to live. It's safe. There's no Lukashenko. So There's some great advantages to Armenia. The second half, though, what are some changes that need to be made? I will give you a very specific metric. Right now, our neighbor Georgia is in the top 10 countries with ease of doing business. We need to be top 5. That's our goal. Easy peasy, right? This is our goal. Top 5, done. What does it take to actually get there? There's still a lot of useless, needless bureaucracy. There's a lot of complications that don't need to be there. There's some processes that are not up to speed. So really the easiest thing, and this goes back to my original message, be selfish. In other words, it's the individual who is going to move the culture forward. Stop waiting for the government to do anything. Stop waiting for some savior to come. Governments are incompetent in Canada, in Poland, or here. No, I just don't have high hopes in any government. So it's the individual who's going to move things forward. What can we do now to move the needle, to push things forward? And it could be as simple as getting all of the big business owners in Armenia to draft legislation and effectively lobby the government and say, here's what we need to make our lives easier. You make this easier or we're moving. Speaking of my Irish heritage, and I know you have a question I'll get to in a second. Speaking of my Irish heritage, there's a very common saying in Ireland, which is to grow up in Ireland is to one day leave it. Sounds familiar, right? For Ireland's entire history, right? To give you an example, today, 300 million people have some Irish ancestry. For all of Ireland's history, it's been poor. The only time it has not been poor has been since 2008. Why? What happened? For the first time in its history, Ireland's becoming a country of immigrants rather than immigrants. Why? Because the government got the hell out of the way, made it as simple as possible for businesses to operate in the country. So all of a sudden you have Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and whether you're happy with how they pay tax in the US, that's not my business and I don't care. The fact is they opened up tons of offices and factories. So they gave jobs to tons of Irish people to the point where when I'm an online business owner. So in Poland, I'm calling customer service. It's always Irish people calling me to answer. They had set up everything in Ireland, all these tech companies. Why can't we do this here? We're the bridge between Russia. We have good relations with Europe. We have good relations with America, good relations with well, not Qatar, but the Saudis, with the Emiratis. We have it with Iran. There's no other country that has these kinds of good relations with otherwise seemingly opposed nations. Why are we not taking advantage of this? To say this is a place where you come, that's it. Like Switzerland, like Singapore, like Estonia. It's not like it's never been invented before, but like I said, the same bad ideas that led us to this disaster, it needs to change. And this is a good thing that now we disagree, because now we get to create what is everyone's here because you want a new vision for what it means to be Armenian. Did I answer your question?
Hi, Patrick. Just wanted to say, firstly, up the Ra. And up the Ra.
Oh, you're speaking Gaelic. I'm a Canadian Armenian. Man.
Oh, you don't know anything?
Nobody, no Irish people speak Gaelic anymore.
Anyways, I was just wondering, so you were talking about how our people need to be more selfish, but in a way that benefits us. So for example, currently that selfishness, the way I see it manifesting in our country is, you hear from a lot of people like, oh yeah, I'm moving to Russia soon, or I hope I can move to Russia or America. That's right.
Merry Christmas.
Right.
Go live with Putin. It's all yours.
Right. But what's happening right now is just a net emigration instead of an immigration, right? Because right now that selfishness is harming us. And I agree fully with your message that and your ideas that Armenia needs to become the kind of country where, I mean, we need to accept the reality that people are selfish and that selfishness has to benefit us, right? We have to put it to our use. So I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. First of all, so what does your organization do, like a little bit more concretely, in terms of like, what's your progress? What's your status with like, do you need funding or PR? What, kind of what's your situation right now? Thanks.
What's your other questions?
That's like,
oh, that's what you want. Okay. So to answer your first, I'll do with the philosophical first. No, actually, I'll do the easier one. We're still very preliminary. We are working on funding. We are setting up some very specific milestones. Once it's ready, we're going to announce it on a much broader scale. We're now just consolidating and crafting the vision, working towards it. So our kind of hook is that we're a PR company for Armenia, basically. Where that's going to go, what are the specifics for that? It's still in progress. So once that's ready, you will definitely hear about it. But to answer your earlier point, first and foremost, I don't believe in force at all. I think force is the antithesis of creativity. It's the antithesis of progress. You cannot think creatively when there's a barrel of a gun to your head. So those people who want to leave, who want to go to Russia, I can't blame them. I'm sorry, I can't blame them. The state, whose only job is to protect Armenian passport holders, to protect Armenian citizens, that's their only job. They took young kids for 2 irreplaceable years of their lives. Right? Remember, the individual is sacred. Your life is yours to live, not somebody else's. So you're effectively a slave. We say tzarayuchun. Okay, I know this might be offensive to some people, and I understand that, but you're taking people's lives for 2 whole years. Then they sat for 30 years and they threw these kids into a meat grinder. Is it a surprise that a lot of parents don't want their kids to go through this? I would be in the same position. I can't judge these people. The solution then at the end of the day, because again, I've heard diasporans talk like that too, by the way. I know it's ugly. And I know that as Armenians, we have this, again, this collectivist insular mentality where we don't like to admit our faults. We always want to say, Armenia is the best country. We've done this, we've invented that, but we don't want to acknowledge our faults. I've known many diasporans who want local Armenian girls to stay pure, and they're going to go to Vegas and have hookers, and then they're going to come here because they want to marry a nice Armenian girl. Like, complaining, oh, Armenians, you stay here, you stay here. Because someone has to stay in Armenia. It's not me, right? The interview I did on CivilNet, that was one of the best examples. It's talking about the individual. Somebody comments, so I check, where does she live? Montreal. Yes, Montreal. Like, sorry, collectivism is something for people to hide behind. The only solution is the individual. So, okay, how do I want to live? What are my values? And the point is that if people like you and me, young people like you, who speak perfect English, by the way, but who are staying here and who are going, okay, how do I build a good life? How do I improve just here, just this little square? How do I treat this person with respect? Even though I don't know him, I'm not going to spit semichki on the floor and throw my cigarette. I'm going to speak to people nicely. I'm going to turn this place into the kind of place where I want to live. I'm going to be the change that I want to be. Slowly but surely. It's not sexy and it's not fast. We should have done it 30 years ago. We didn't. Now we have no choice. But slowly but surely, this needs to become the change in the culture. And what will happen is these people, I mean, especially if they're going to a place like Russia, I mean, Jesus, eventually you're going to want to come back. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. You're going to want to come back here because this is a free place. This is a place where you can create wealth.
Relatively.
Sorry?
Relatively.
One more question.
It will become that way with people like you and like me, because we will make it that way.
Just one more question. You mentioned that.
Can I answer
what
this last
platform?
question?
I just wanted to ask just for what platform you're going to be announcing on. You said
you can follow Work from Armenia Facebook page. You can join our Work from Armenia Facebook group. We're going to do live events as well. We're going to do networking. We're going to do all kinds of stuff. We're going to build a community here, which is going to.
So currently it's only Facebook, right?
Currently on Facebook, but we have an event coming up at the end of this month. So if you want to.
Thank you.
Yeah. Instagram. Sorry. We do have a website, workfromarmenia.com.
Okay, so you have Instagram, website, and Facebook. Work from Armenia.
You guys can reach to Nari or Dea or Yasmin, the beautiful ladies over there. I know I'm blessed with amazing coworkers. They're all over there, and you can get all the details and info there. Thank you for your question.
So one more question from online. Question from Lily Dariban, who just did the presentation, Face of Angels. I agree that individuals can move things to a certain point, but I also think that there needs to be government buy-in and sincere support for initiatives to prosper and have lasting impact. Otherwise, people who do things individually usually burn out and give up after years of trying to succeed. Do you agree? And how can we get the government to give individuals chance to succeed?
I agree. I agree. So to answer your question, how? By getting them the hell out of the way. Because at the end of the day, what we're really talking about are cooperation. It's individuals who are freely moving together. And by the way, I mean, if you're on social media, you think the world is ending. But being here for the last few months, I mean, the amount of incredible initiatives of just amazing people who have gotten together. Look at this initiative, for example. Look at all the amazing people here in this room. We're all individuals. We're not burnout. We all chose to come here. We made this conscious decision to come here and be part of Armenia's future. So what do we need from the government? Again, even if it was in Canada, I don't have high hopes from government to do anything. That's just me. It's personal. I don't want to be critical. I just don't. Everything moves slowly. And unfortunately, that's the way governments are. We don't need to be waiting. We don't need much from them. The only thing we need is just get out of the way. Armenians have prospered. If you guys are really interested, there's a really good book that I recommend by an American historian called Thomas Sowell. And the book is called Black Rednecks and White Liberals. He's got an entire chapter on what he calls middlemen minorities. These are ethnic minorities that wherever they go in the world, they tend to be successful, except in their homeland. So the examples he gives are the Lebanese in Africa, of course, the Jews in Europe. He also gives the example of the Chinese in South Asia, right? Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, and so on. And of course, the Armenians. There's an entire chapter about Armenians. And I was reading this stuff, and even I didn't know this stuff. And I went to Armenian school for 12 years. I learned all about our industrious history everywhere. We didn't need government support back then. You think we needed government to be successful in India? We didn't need that. Do we need it in Iran, a Muslim country? We didn't need that. Armenians are industrious people. I'm happy about that. So the whole point is, now that we're a free people, right? Again, don't forget, we win by remaining free. This is something our enemies will never take from us. They've expanded their open air prison. They're welcome to it. But if we're left free, then there's individuals who get to speak freely like we're doing right now. So there's new ideas after this discussion. And these new ideas lead to more cooperation, which lead to more innovation, which lead to eventually something down the line, which started right here in this room, and we'll never know about it. But that's what's so cool.
Thank you very much.
Hope that helps.
Thank you.